Hello, Will Curran.
Hey guys, I really hope all of your microphones are on right now because
It's on. You're rolling.
What I actually really am enjoying today, Will, is your bright green Endless Events shirt.
Oh, thank you. It's time you get to see me in shorts too because I just got off the plane.
It's perfect.
All right.
Live at Connect.
Let's start the show. Let's get
started.
rock and rolling. So, hello, amazing people on the interwebs. We are live from another conference. This time we are live from Connect Marketplace. And something interesting is happening right now. Almost all the hosts, minus one, are here together in one single place with microphones being recorded live.
First time this has happened, I think,
Period.
ever.
Period, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ever.
I think there's some people are starting to wonder if maybe Alex and I were the same person. Because I don't know if we've actually ever.
His hair grows back so quick, and then it
time.
goes away the next week. It's true. This is
But
true.
now there's actual photographic evidence also that I'm not Tahira. So,
It's good because I was worried about my fur.
This is very true. This is very true.
But
Well,
yeah, this is exciting. This is history.
very
in the
much,
making.
very much history in the making. We got lots of this coming up. I think we'll probably break some news potentially. If we're
Yeah.
allowed to at the end of this
I
show.
think so, yep.
I'm gonna let
So
Brand
stay
do that
tuned
one.
because we've got exciting news at the end of the show.
Super duper exciting news. And yeah, I think we just want to jump right in. We have a ton of people here that
We do.
Tahira has curated. And they're also just walking by, just like last week on Aliyah Live. If you didn't see that episode, people are just literally walking past us, hanging out, watching this live. But we're going to be bringing a bunch of icons on in rapid succession. And, we're just going to kind of go with the flow. This is also going to be extended edition as well, 2 hours long, I think. So if we fill that up. So we'll see how it all goes. But
Hey, Will, before we launch in, I was wondering if maybe we should tell folks that might not be familiar with Connect a little bit more about the show.
yeah, let's definitely do
Tahira's
it.
probably been to more of these than any of us. So you want to just tell us a little bit about the show?
Yeah, Connect is great. So Connect, they've had, they've been doing it for a long time now. What they started doing a couple of years ago is bringing together all the disciplines. So we have Connect Sport, Connect Association, Connect Corporate, all under one roof. So we've got planners and suppliers that are really covering all the bases here, and thousands of them. So it's great programming. And let's get started with some of these guests that we have.
It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of #EventIcons.
Presented by Endless Events.
The show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. Use the question panel on the webinar to submit your questions. Or you can hop on Twitter. Submit your questions with #EventIcons.
We'll be answering your questions live during the entire show.
Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better conversation we can have. So please help share #EventIcons on Twitter and Facebook.
Just tell your friends to watch at www.event-icons.com.
Now, without any further delay, this is #EventIcons.
So this is Tracy Stuckrath with Thrive Meetings. Now, Tracy, we're going to start with the big question. So I have been on a little 7-week sabbatical, which has been amazing.
Yes.
But I feel like I just tore a page out of your book as you just changed your whole life and you are the poster child for how to minimize and move on.
Oh, I totally am. I live in a 10 by 10 room in my friend's house.
Which is fantastic.
It is.
Because you don't need all that stuff apparently.
I don't. And I just moved. I sold my house and 85% of my belongings, and I moved into my friend's house. I just moved my storage unit from Atlanta to Greenville like 3 weeks ago. And I'm moving it, and I'm like, oh, I don't need that. I can throw that away. So I'm like, I need to go into my storage unit and purge some more.
And you actually donated most of those items.
I did. Donated or sold, yeah.
Yeah, that is, I love that.
Yeah.
So tell us about Thrive Meetings.
Thrive Meetings is an organization. It's me, and I am. Hi. I met her today on the train. I plan meetings, but I'm also a professional speaker on safe and inclusive food and beverage. So how not to kill or offend
Which
people.
is why we are going to a vegan restaurant for my birthday tomorrow.
And we have clarified that there are no nuts.
Yes.
That's Friday night, not tomorrow night.
Oh, today's Thursday, is it not?
Oh, yeah, it is tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Yeah, tomorrow's
I mean,
Friday.
I have sabbatical brain. I have no idea, other than I know when my birthday is.
Yes.
So That is critical
Yes,
information.
and you can't have nuts at the vegan restaurant, which I
Yeah.
hope will do for you.
Yes, we've already established that.
perfect.
Yes, I know.
That's
it's
fantastic,
good. I
yeah.
know. Very exciting.
Yay.
And what's your favorite thing about coming to Connect?
What is my favorite thing about coming to Connect? Catching up with all of you guys and everyone else I know, and it's really the place to connect with people in the industry, whether you're a speaker or you've somebody that's listened to my presentation before, and just industry, both planners and suppliers. It's a lot of fun.
And I know I saw some of your presentation, I think maybe last year, and I there was some plastic food, so you could really you really
Yes.
delve into
That's still in my storage unit, but
yeah. But I love that you really you bring your experiences alive for people, which is fantastic.
I try to do that because nobody wants to listen to just me blah 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 blah.
What?
Blah, blah.
Any questions, guys?
Well, Tracy, you've been to a few of these Connects at this point,
Yes.
and I'm wondering, one of the things this show is kind of famous for is they get really good keynote speakers.
Yes.
Not necessarily specific to the event industry, but ones that you might want to use in your programs.
Correct.
What are some of the ones that you've seen, and some of the ones that were your favorites?
Well, I have to say that one of my favorites was Bill Clinton, only for the fact that he is a vegan or followed a vegan diet for a while, and I got Angie to plug a question into him, get Chris to ask him a question about it. So I have to say that was my personal favorite because my question got asked, and it says, how did you live on the vegan diet, and are you still doing it? And so yeah.
And he also inspired me to go and see. He said of all the places you need to see in America, when he was asked that question, was the Grand Canyon at sunset or sunrise, and so we did that the next year.
I just did that spring break this year.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is so
It's a
awesome.
beautiful
I
country.
took my niece to that.
I know. We've actually just been touring through Utah, so we've driven from Moab through Bryce and through
nice.
Zion to get here. And honestly,
Zion is unbelievable. Yeah,
it's all been stunning. I'm just blown away. So if you don't have Utah on your bucket list yet, come to Utah.
You definitely need to do that for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Mhm.
And now I've sent my husband out to do the temple tours.
Very cool.
I know. It's exciting. How about you, Alex?
So you've been coming for quite a few years.
Yes.
How
Don't
have
age
you?
me.
How have you seen the treatment of food and the signage and things evolve? Because I think one of the things that I really appreciate about Connect and their team here is that they do take feedback very well.
Agreed.
So what have you seen kind of evolve over time, and how has that changed as you've been coming back year after year?
I actually, when I first started coming, they had these fantastic cards, and they were cardstock, really thick cardstock with your name on it and your dietary needs underneath it. And you gave that to your waiter. And one of the experiences I had, oh my gosh, I don't remember what convention center it was. Maybe it was Houston. Was it in Houston at one point? There's been so many I've been to. But one day this waitress, she had two of us at one table, or more than that maybe, and she took our cards, she wrote our numbers down on our cards, and she ran back. She came back with our meals with the plate lids on top of them, and she knew which one to give, to each one of us. The next day wasn't so fantastic, but I told Angie that, and that helps her communicate that to the staff. I know it's a big challenge, the dietary restrictions and managing it for a large crowd, because there's like 4,000 people at this convention. So how do you manage that? So this year will be different with lunches because it's a buffet style. And so instead of the plated that they have been in the past, so it'll be interesting to see how Salt Palace does with that. And I know Chance, who works here, is really, they just won a huge sustainability award. So we'll see how that translates to dietary needs labeling and things. But yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, it was interesting because they're very much pushing the green factor.
Correct.
And even from the airport, they provided us with free cards for the light rail, and they were like, "Don't take Uber if you don't have to.
Right.
Hop on the train. Here's how to get where you're going." So they're very much pushing the sustainability and the green meetings. And of course, that also translates into food and waste and things like that.
Right, exactly.
So what are you most excited to see at this event?
I'm actually excited to see this guy right here, this sitting down, Chance. And well, the three of us here are on the Event Industry Council's sustainability rewrite. And I'm handling food and beverage. You're doing
Marketing and AV and production.
and you're doing
Destinations.
So figuring out how to rewrite the sustainability standards for our industry, and I'm covering food and beverage, on what that means. And so it's nice to see them face to face, because we've been talking, via Google Group and Zoom conferences on how to rewrite this and do it. So I think, and to see what Chance and the Salt Palace does in that field because they've won is going to be really exciting too. And actually, in one of my sessions, Life of the BEO, one tomorrow and one on Saturday, we're taking a tour of the facility and talking to the
awesome.
different departments, catering and within the building, to talk about how the BEO, how they use the BEO to help produce our events.
That's great. Absolutely. And
So yeah, with that, let's introduce Chance Thompson with the Salt Palace. Thank you for having Connect at the Salt Palace. We think this is a fantastic venue. So tell us, I know you have a lot of solar panels on this roof.
We do, yeah. So hello, everybody. So my name is Chance Thompson, and I work for S&G, and I'm based at the Salt Palace Convention Center here. And I do our sustainability work. So I'm our Senior Manager of Sustainability and PR. And we are lucky to have a ever-growing green facility, a sustainable facility. We're still working on some things, but first, as since you mentioned it, the solar array. So we have a 600,000 square foot solar array. So it provides
Solar what?
solar array.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So solar panels. There's 6,000 panels.
Wow.
Yep. And they provide about 20% of our annual power. We are looking at renewable energy purchasing options to offset the rest, because we only have so much roof space. We may have a little more space to add on, but before we talk about Salt Palace, you said thank you for bringing Connect. Thanks to Connect for coming here. We are lucky to have this event, not only just because it's Connect, but their sustainability ethos is incredibly strong. And so we're actually going to, throughout the show, be talking about the value of the connection between a venue, their other suppliers and the caterers, the convention bureau, and the planners, and how powerful that can be. And we're hoping to make this one of our greenest events for the Salt Palace, but also for Connect as well. So some very exciting things. Yeah, absolutely.
And it actually is a lot easier than people think. So, no, I mean, I'm a Vancouver girl, so obviously,
Yes.
Another LEED Platinum building, but it's very easy to
You have
do
a speed
smart,
on that.
well, I wasn't going to say that, but to make smart food choices, to make smart building choices, to think about all the different aspects, to actually have a positive impact from our events, and not have this, people always say, oh, it's, so many people and negative impacts, but we actually, the power of bringing people together is, of course, the most important thing we can do. But then when we can do it in a way that really cares for the people, my
Right.
gosh, we're so lucky to be able to do this.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's interesting everybody's path to sustainability, right? So ours, because we're an older building, you obviously beat us with the platinum status, right? We have a silver lead on one of our building additions, but because we're an older facility and we are looking towards operational or facility adjustments, but what we've done is use the Apex standards, since you were mentioning those, to focus a lot on operational components. Because we see that as a huge area of impact with our clients, materials management being a huge one, right? And so when you talk about it not being that hard, it really isn't that hard. If you have a little bit of structure in place, there's so many things you can do. And for us, from a materials standpoint, just give everybody kind of an overview of what we're working on. We focus heavily with clients on their reuse of their materials. And then after that, we look at donation as much as possible, even before recycling. And it has gone well for us because we actually this year were awarded the IMEX EIC Innovation and Sustainability Award. And it was given to us for two things. One, our APEX certifications. We hold 5
Wow.
within our city. And 2 venues, so our other facility in South Salt Lake, the Mountain America Expo Center, and then Visit Salt Lake, our CVB. Utah Foods, our caterer, and PSAB, our audiovisual. And so that was one piece. But then our creative reuse and community donation impact is what really won us the award. 200,000 pounds of donation material last year. and about 30,000 pounds of food rescue.
Wow.
Tracy. Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes. So, and I won't share any numbers yet because I'm going to keep them held to the vest. But this year, I think we're going to blow those numbers out of the water. And we're very excited about that. We're at about a 64% diversion rate as a facility and still have a long ways to go. We need some support in certain areas to do some local things with some of the material, but yeah, it's fun.
And
That's amazing.
there's a really good article that just came out in meetings today on sustainability.
Yep.
and
Trends, sustainability trends,
and
yep.
you are highly featured in that, and I thought it was interesting that, like, you're talking to my favorite baseball team, the Orioles, and you know, and what they're trying to do with their, you know, sustainability in their facilities. And so what you guys have done here is can be used as a benchmark what for other facilities around the country, no matter if it's a convention center or a baseball stadium.
We exist in a bit of a unique space in that, you know, we're doing a lot of amazing things here, but more than that, our leadership wants to help the industry push and move and shake and get this stuff going. And so they've really thrown a lot of support for me to go out into the industry and be a part of the Events Industry Council Sustainability Committee and talk with these people scattered all over, the Apex rewrite that we're working on. And it's been amazing how much momentum there is. You know, I've had people reach out and just say, hey, do you have a few minutes to chat? And it's like, well, yeah, that's part of our mission, right? And so we've been pretty open in sharing resources and strategies, and there's a lot of really cool things happening. Gaylord Opryland Resort is one that I'm just blown away by what they're starting to work on, and it's new for them, so I'm really excited with that. Yeah, it's cool stuff. And Tracy, we'll talk more about their food stuff.
I want to talk to you about food.
I actually want to cut in real quick.
Yeah, please do.
For anyone who's interested in doing a deeper dive into sustainability, this is fantastic information. You can actually refer to episode 116, where we talked about sustainability, and we had some guests on the show. Also, for those just tuning in, we are live from Connect Marketplace. We've got people watching on Facebook, on Zoom, all over. If you have any questions for our guests or for us, please do use the Q&A feature. Let us know, and we'll try to get some questions answered while we have our guests here.
And this is EventIcons social media guru right here. So thank you for the commercial break.
Yes.
Well, Alex.
And now back to our scheduled program.
Yes. Well, I think, you know, we're going to talk about sustainability. We have some people in the wings now to talk about technology.
We do.
Which, of course, as we move more into how technology is impacting us, we can use it not only to tell our sustainability stories, but also in many ways to underlie the work that we're doing with sustainability, which I think is really important. So, because you know what, these little dudes, they're not going anywhere. So
they're not going anywhere. No,
oh my gosh, at the airport this morning.
Well, they might go like into our hand or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought I left my phone at home, and my friend dropped me off at the airport, and I'm like, oh my God, because my watch was not connected to my phone and I couldn't ding it. I about had a heart attack, but it was in my backpack.
So I am like literally, you know, it's like, you know, this is about day 70 on the road. Through 5 countries, and this is the thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, this is where we're at now. So it's but it's also meant, you know, I haven't really used any paper for 70 days either.
Nice.
So
Very, very
great.
good. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
it's a
very
nuisance. That's paper.
all that
paper
paper.
is a nuisance. It is
Yeah.
Well, I
very
mean,
much a
so are
nuisance.
the incoming emails every second too,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But, you know,
That's
right.
the joy of a
Yes,
sabbatical.
yes.
My emails are way down. So
So do you want me to give my hot seat off to Elizabeth?
yeah, let's bring in some
Elizabeth.
technology. Brant, we're gonna bring Brant back, and we're gonna
You didn't
bring
tell me
over.
to take mine.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you, Kira.
You are
And
fabulous.
stay tuned. We'll be
Okay.
sharing a lot of our stuff with Connect
Thank you,
out
Tracy.
on our
Thank
social
you,
media channels
Alex.
as well, and get EventIcons in here as well.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to be watching for that. I think
Yes,
that's
sounds good.
awesome. Well, hello, Elizabeth Glau
Hello, Tahira.
from Sciencio.
Yes, EventBots.
EventBots.
Even easier.
Even easier. I love EventBots. Well, you know what, Brant? We're going to have Brant come back in and take over the technology space, because, you know, as much as I love talking about event technology, Brant,
Come on, Will.
Brant's our guy.
So,
Will
Chance.
wants to talk
So-
about chatbots.
Thank
too.
you. Don't
I'm
make this
actually
all
very
about you.
excited to have Elizabeth on,
Thanks,
because
Alex.
I have been doing some work with Sciencio, and actually at this conference I am going to be presenting 2 sessions on chatbots
Woohoo!
and how you can partner that with social media to develop a really good customer service strategy.
And you know what? Well, we're also going to bring in Michelle to this conversation because Michelle Bruno writes Event Tech Brief, and she is. I'm going to just give Michelle my seat, actually. No, it's good. I'm gonna give Michelle.
Sharing is caring.
Oh, okay.
And let's talk technology.
I guess we're talking technology then.
We're talking technology.
Hey. Well, Michelle was one of the first journalists to actually write about chatbots and event bots. So we are very
I
grateful
saw
to
something in
her.
you. I saw some potential. I thought you needed
She
to.
thought like, oh, this might actually help attendees have a better experience.
I think so.
Let's check it out.
And actually, at the time, what I wrote about was comparing chatbots to mobile apps and how this might be a formidable competitor. And Elizabeth and I were just talking that I think it is actually coming to fruition for a lot of cash-strapped associations and people that don't want to invest in a huge mobile app for their events. So
Yeah, invest the time or the energy it takes.
So
Yeah.
before we do a full deep dive into technology, let's have you two introduce yourselves.
Oh, yeah, I
Elizabeth,
suppose we should say who we are.
so
We're
we
so
know
good at the chit-chat.
we know you're from Sancio and that you work with chatbots, but what do you do for them?
So my role is in marketing. So they hired me because of my experience in the events industry. So just kind of trying to help guide them through the best ways to deliver AI chatbots for events.
And we talked chatbots on the show before, episode 118.
Check it out.
So you should definitely check that out for like a full dive into what that looks like.
Yeah.
But Michelle, please introduce yourself as well.
hi, I'm Michelle Bruno. I started out in the industry as a supplier. Then for 10 years, I was a meeting planner. And now I've spent the last 8 or so as a technology journalist, and I specialize in event technology.
And this is Michelle's first time on the show.
It is my first time.
That's so exciting.
But you are here in my hometown.
Oh.
So
You had to come to her.
We had to
Yes.
come- we had to come to
I
Michelle.
waited.
She is.
I
that
was still
important.
waiting. And
She doesn't
then
go to
you
the
showed
show.
up. Then
The show
then
comes
as
to
I
you,
was
yeah.
walking through the hallway, I see you here now. Yes.
So Michelle, we do have a question that we ask all of our first timers.
Yes.
And that is, if you weren't in the events industry,
Yes.
what would you be doing?
I would be a prima ballerina.
Oh.
I love that idea.
so normally because we're on a webcam,
Yes.
we don't have the opportunity to ask anybody, but since we have a nice camera here and we have
Yeah.
space, can you show us your moves?
No. No, I cannot.
She said she liked the idea. of it.
Although
She didn't say
I am willing to do it if you show me yours.
Oh,
So we
I
can,
feel like that's
know,
a challenge.
a little,
Dance
yeah,
off.
I would say so. Dance off,
Dance
a
off.
ballet dance off. I love that. But yeah, I think that would be my answer.
She's like,
I'm going,
"That's my final
Alex.
answer."
I am going for that. That's my final answer. What is prima ballerina? Yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah. There's so many things to choose from, though.
Well, this is, so I'm excited about using the chatbot in this show because this is my first opportunity to do so kind of as an attendee.
Yeah.
I'm a speaker at the show, but I'm still going to try and use it actually instead of the app.
Mhm.
Do you guys find, now you'd said that you thought it might be a formidable challenger. Are you starting to hear rumblings of people starting to say, hey, I'm liking this chatbot thing. Maybe I don't need a mobile app.
I haven't actually heard anyone articulate that, but I can see how people are, sort of progressing along the road of technology. And we were all sold, for good reason, sort of a bill of goods on mobile apps. And that was kind of the first big leap that a lot of event planners made. And chatbots weren't around then. So it's just, observing the pain points of attendees and of planners and, the whole do more with less budget sort of thing. It all just makes sense to me. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's, when it comes down to, should we do a mobile app or should we do a chat bot, that a lot of people are going to be saying chatbots, maybe could be something that we should at least consider, at least put them in the, put them on the table.
Yeah, right now, the way to think about it is, communicating with your attendees via text messaging is just another channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we will get to the point where, planners are starting to realize how little usage adoption they're actually getting on their mobile app, and it's just the investment is just not going to make sense anymore.
Mhm.
But right now, we've got clients that will do both. We've got smaller shows that actually never had an app, which I didn't even think was possible.
Right, right.
I thought everybody had, mobile apps for their conferences, but some smaller shows and some things where it never really made sense for them to have an app anyway. Like they're coming to us and they're hearing about chatbots and they're like, yeah, this seems like a great way to have my attendees not asking me a million questions, which is actually the job that it's doing, right? Like that's the job you hire the chatbot to do.
But there'll be other things that it will be able to do. Well, it can do now, but that isn't the use case, right? I could see a lot of ways that chatbots could take over, in different areas other than customer experience or information or navigational stuff.
Has there been any experimentation or drift toward using it for audience response and things like that? So being able to actually put the poll out and then respond via the bot.
Yeah, we've already done that kind of stuff. We can also just partner with other companies in the space that provide that. Sometimes it makes a lot of sense to just partner with another company that already does something really well, as opposed to us trying to think that we want to be everything to everybody. So we do it either way.
Now, one thing that I've noticed, and I've been to a few events that I've used chatbots, is that every time I've used it, it's been over text. However, if you think about a lot of big companies that are using chatbots right now, they're using it on Facebook Messenger, they're using it on Twitter, and things like that. So have you seen any events start to use it on social media yet?
No, so in the event space, we've found that the planners do not want to use Facebook Messenger or any of those. However, somewhat of, some kind of breaking news, although it's not, at this point it's not breaking, but WhatsApp has finally opened up their platform for chatbots. And so now we've had big shows in Dubai and places where we just really, we can technically provide SMS there, but for those audiences, like WhatsApp is where it's at. Right. And so, so we're quickly, just getting on board now that they've opened that up, and that's a possibility. That's going to be huge for conferences with international audiences. But otherwise, I see it's still going to be SMS.
So why are you seeing them not interested in the social media side?
They just don't want to engage with their attendees on Facebook.
That's so interesting.
It depends on the type of event. If you have a more consumer-facing event or something, certainly they're kind of in that space. But anything that's B2B, no, they're not. They're not using Facebook.
That's fascinating, because even this event right now has Facebook pages and has Facebook events that exist, and so it's surprising that they're not going that next step.
And we do all of the messaging channels, right? And we make it clear, we can do all those. We just never get any interest in that.
So interesting.
In those channels.
Seems like there's more potential when you're using it through a social media channel for amplifying, a single question. Whereas if you're just texting a question to the bot, you see it, the bot sees it, that's it. I would think that they'd be more interested in social.
And that's why it's weird. It's different, right? Than just talking about like using social media like Facebook or Twitter. We do both, right? But it's really meant to be a one-on-one conversation, right? It's between the user and the conference.
It's still like a private message.
Yeah, it's like a private message.
Well, unless the conference's aim is amplification, and then social would be the go-to.
So could it be a public channel at that point?
No, it's really meant to be private, like private.
So
messaging.
on Twitter, it's through
it's direct messaging.
Direct messaging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's. I think some people think when they think Twitter, they think the feed,
right,
and not necessarily direct.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Right.
So.
Yeah. But like as Alex has discovered, sometimes it's okay to get some questions and some things off of the public feed, right? Like sometimes it's better to have those in private channels.
Yeah, because if the same question is asked 50 times.
Yeah.
But I think that's where social media and chatbots can work together, because you can see how often something has been asked.
Yeah.
So if something's getting asked a lot, then you can go to your social feeds and answer that question for everyone publicly, if it is the type of question that could be answered publicly, and then you're going to get less of those queries because you've answered it publicly. But I do think, and that's one of the things that Bob and I are going to be talking about in our session on chatbots and customer service, is how social media and chatbots can work together. So I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion. This is the first time we've done this session before.
So I have a chatbot question. I have heard that it's important that the user, say the attendee, believes that they're not talking to a human.
That's a great question.
However, the humans tend to add, they tend to think about the bot as a human.
Yeah.
So where should we fall in?
Yeah.
Should we think it's a human because it makes us more comfortable and apt to use a bot more, or should we keep it as a robot in our heads or a mechanical piece of intelligence?
Yeah, no, we actually feel very strongly that the user should know that it's not a human. Because it's
Why?
not, right?
Yeah,
Like don't lie to your customers or your users. Although a lot of people that are doing chatbots are like trying to pass them off as humans, and we really don't feel like that's what you should do, right?
Because it's an ethical sort of thing. Okay.
Yeah, but really, people, the conversation feels human, which is why it's so cool. I mean, that's why people love using them because it feels very conversation, like it feels like you're talking to a human, but you want them to know that they're not, and they like giving the chatbot a hard time. For example,
you think about like the newer phone trees and stuff too. They're designed to model a human. Like it's not, and it kind of bothers you that they're trying to pass it off as being one. Or at least it does me.
Okay.
I think most people, I don't know.
But then why, when we use virtual reality or something like that, is it sort of crucial for the person that wants to participate in something virtually that they believe that they are now on the holodeck of the spaceship?
Do you really believe it?
I
I
want to believe it.
I think maybe someday.
I want to believe it. If I'm doing a virtual reality thing, I want to believe I'm on a beach.
I don't think
I want to believe I'm flying.
Yet, right?
I want to believe that.
No, for sure.
And it's important that people believe that they're doing that for the experience to be impactful.
I think there is a combination of that exists out there. I just read about a roller coaster that you wear a VR headset on, and you can look around, and the environment can change, but it's still the same roller coaster that you're on.
Right.
So even though there may be 20 people on the roller coaster at the same time, they may all be experiencing 5 different scenarios.
So would I actually get sick from a VR roller coaster?
Supposedly less. Supposedly less. Because
Sick.
your body is feeling the movements that are timed to the video. It's actually supposed to be much more or less conducive.
Yeah.
You're much less likely to get sick. Let's put it that way.
That's so funny.
But I think what's interesting about the AI side of it is, and any of this VR, is that it's giving us personalization options.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything, or do you expect in the future that there might be options for chatbots? For example, the chatbot here is Connie, right? Well, with Alexa, you can choose to call it computer or Alexa or what have you. Do you see the potential to kind of pick your chatbot for an event? Like maybe there's 3 or 4 options?
Well, the organizer certainly can, name it, right? The user itself, like, I don't know, really what the value would be in just having my own name for the chatbot, but certainly we're doing more in personalizing the content that we can deliver to you, right? Your personal schedule and things like that. Like we're starting to personalize in those ways, but
there's personalities to these. I mean, there's chatbots that are a little sassy.
I guess you could do that. Yeah, I mean, because we'll do that.
No, but you're not supposed to do that. Yeah. We don't want the chatbot to be sassy because it's not a human.
Right.
Hello, Alex. Have we not learned anything in this conversation?
But I read an article in Forbes as I was doing research for this session that I'm going to be doing, that actually when it comes to AI customer service, it's actually better customer service if it does have some personality.
Yeah.
And that's up to you as your business to discover what personality fits into your brand.
Yeah.
So knowing your brand really well, are you a sassy, fun brand? Are you a very professional, polished brand? And then
that's why I don't see it getting down to the user level, right? Because the brand wants to have control over the personality of the chatbot. Like, I guess it would be okay to give the user that.
I mean, my Siri is the Australian male because I enjoy that.
Hashtag, just saying it.
I converted all of our Google Homes over to like Irish or something like that.
Yeah.
My wife made me turn it back because it was turning everything into Celsius. So I had to check the weather, and the kids would be like,
burning everything.
I have no idea what the temperature is going to be. What is 45 Celsius?
Now,
It's a good learning
Ask Google.
experience.
Now-
Parent of the year.
do you see chatbots becoming vocal, like using sound for potentially like the blind who can't necessarily read a text? I know there's apps out there that will read those texts to you, but do you see anything where the chatbots become like Alexa and Siri?
So, I mean, Alexa technically is a chatbot, and they're, I've seen some cases of events trying to use Alexa stations. The challenges with that is it's still a physical station that the attendee has to go find. So you might as well have a human there, right? Because otherwise, it's not just with them like your phone is. And it's just going to take you longer to program the actual conversation, right? To teach it how to talk about events, right? Than using a chatbot like ours that's already been trained to talk about events. But I don't know. Like, I should look into kind of what those apps are for people that are vision impaired. Like, how do they text message? I actually don't even know. I don't know if you guys.
A lot of it's built into the
you can voice to
OS
text on
these
your
days,
phone. Yeah. So like to the extent that you can voice to text on your phone already,
Right.
You can voice now, but otherwise no. It's like still via again a messaging channel is the way to go. I think.
So as a way of warming up some of the future conversations that are coming here, what do you think is kind of the future for chatbots? So as you guys look ahead, okay, we've got this cool thing going right now. What's kind of the next generation that's coming down the way when it comes to what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think it probably is going to be around more of that personalizing. Just like we're just the voice of the planner's data, right? So whatever personalization they've got on the back end, we can deliver that through to the attendee. We may partner, we may build the increasing functionality around finding people that you should be meeting, or finding which sessions you should be going to, those kinds of things. I think that's that's all really good stuff that I'm personally excited about.
I have no answer for that.
It's all right, because we're bringing in a heavy hitter to join the conversation.
Why don't you take my spot? I'll switch with you.
I'm good here.
Take that. Here's an extra chair.
There. You can stay on that.
Musical microphones. Who do I give this to?
You'd be a good one for the chat box.
We thought 4 would be enough.
Nah, you might need more.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Spellis is joining us. Jim, why don't you tell everyone out there who you are and what you do?
Former meeting planner, former industry vet now for 20 years, teaching about technology, making people comfortable with what's out there, what's coming, and how the universe is changing every day because of the technology and its implications on business. And just playing with toys actually is the real bottom line of it all. Just so much fun to be able to access and see what's out there, give people experiences so they can get more than just a knowledge, but a hands-on.
And for those of you who want to learn more about that, Jim, you're on episode 92, it sounds like, previous episodes. We can go back and find out more about that. Another multiple-time event icon on the show.
Indeed.
So I started warming up. We talked a little bit about kind of the future of chatbots, and so now let's start expanding the conversation a little bit more to some of the other event technology that's coming down the way. What do you guys see as kind of the next? I know I hate being asked the next big thing question, so let's skip the next big thing question. But things that are starting to roll down the hill that maybe over the course of the next 4 or 5 years are going to start to come to the forefront.
Yeah, at this point, it's the maturation of AI, of artificial intelligence. I mean, everything else is secondary, especially from a business perspective, to now that it's here. And now that we can see actual uses, now it's when business has started, and it started for a couple of years now, be able to go, I can see where this impacts our industry. It's going to have huge, huge focus and cause huge changes in how we do things and how businesses are structured. And this industry in particular, which has been kind of pushing back, and I'm sure, Elizabeth, you were talking about the event bots, and that's just part of the whole AI approach. It's a critical conversation for organizations to have right now, at least to understand enough about it, to be able to make good decisions and be able to stay relevant in their job in a different work environment than they've ever been used to.
I've got to imagine for you guys that like every 6 months, the power and the ability to use kind of the machine learning that's behind the scenes has got to be just increasing and increasing, so you guys can do more and more and more.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Just us doing more, and then just being more efficient as a team, and our processes and how we're working with clients, and we're actually we actually have even made the conversation more efficient, right? Like, I won't go into the the nerdy details on that, but it's like just how we're able to move faster and faster and faster. And yeah, I think Jim's totally right. Not just chatbots. I think AI in general is where it's at. And I'd like to think that maybe in 5 or 10 years, meeting planner won't be on the top 5 most stressful jobs anymore, because they'll have all of these tools, right, that like make them more efficient.
Nah, it's just a stressful career in general.
You're like, no, not a chance.
Except for then when those don't work or they break, or and the
Yeah,
stress level comes back
managing
up,
the technology,
the Wi-Fi
like-
shuts down.
Right, totally.
Michelle, what do you think is kind of rolling down?
Well, the thing that I think about a lot, and what I'm starting to get more calls on, are really these platforms that are leveraging data. I know it's not a cool thing like a chatbot.
Oh, I like it.
But
More analyzing the
there's-
data, or
it's beyond analysis now. I mean, analysis was sort of last year. So now it's what can you do if you leverage the data, you parse through the data, you have it normalized, and it's malleable. What kind of action can you take on it? How can you segment your audience? How can you do these things? And those platforms are getting really advanced. I mean, it's beyond marketing. It's beyond knowing everything about your attendee and then putting them in a segment and then sending them email.
Yeah,
it's leapfrogging
I
beyond
love that stuff.
But it's interesting that what used to be the thing that powered all sort of apps and platforms was cloud technology. Now it'll be artificial intelligence. And I think the next thing is going to be blockchain.
Yeah.
What do
Oh,
you think?
yeah. No question. I think we're going to have we're going to have security-based issues with blockchain before it really does come to the forefront. I can see in all industries, blockchains with contracts in different areas becoming really, really useful. But I think that security conversation is probably going to slow it down a little bit, especially, what's probably going to happen in 10 years with the quantum computing is a point where all of a sudden we have to completely rethink the security aspect because those computers are so powerful that they're going to be able to break, a lot of code and a lot of the stuff that's out there, which is why the blockchain really is that perfect storm, perfect solution down the pike.
Yeah.
I do think from a practical application right now, I talk about it so briefly in my sessions because our industry is not ready for that conversation yet. It's just not there.
That's why you should be talking about it.
Well, that's why we talk about it in
give them a
small
little-
steps.
That's why you just
I want to go
dribble.
back, but I want to go
trickle
back
out.
to the AI
Exactly.
stuff because remember you mentioned, it was a mobile world 10 years ago.
Right.
And it was mobile first. Right now, and I just read something today, I don't remember who to attribute this to, it certainly wasn't my idea, but they said we're in an AI first world. And that's a really interesting way to look at it. Really AI as a service,
Right.
which is what planners and suppliers have to look at. Not how do we build this, but what's out there we can grab onto, how has it been used, and then, as you said, being able to not only manage the data, but to be able to make right decisions based on it.
Here's the thing, though. We're already moving too fast for the users.
Yep.
That's really the main problem. Half of them are still using Excel spreadsheets.
But you got to jump in
So,
somewhere.
I agree. I wish there was more of a solution to getting the users to really sort of accelerate their interest and use and understanding. And I know that's what you do.
Yeah, I
And
know.
it's to a certain extent what I do, but what's the holdup? I think about that
Fear?
every day. Like, what is?
Yeah, we're terrified. I mean, it's
But
so
they'll
much.
use it in their private lives, but they won't use it in the job.
I think there's a disconnect. What they're using in their private lives isn't the same as what they're using and what they can use professionally. I mean, look at AI. They're using it every day.
Right.
However, it doesn't look that way. It looks like Echo or Google Home, and it looks like Netflix. It doesn't look like AI on the bottom line, being able to support all that. And I think I know when I start talking about it, those are the types of analogies I have to keep making.
Right.
You're using it already. So think about it. I was playing this summer with Google Home and the fact that you can use something called TensorFlow and what Google put out to actually build Google Home interfaces for your business. And I did it for one or two, and it was just so cool. And not that it was anything, it wasn't a revelation, but just the fact that you can ask a question at home about your industry and all of a sudden have a conversation or a game show or something that can promote. I think that's where people have to blend their creative side with the technology. They don't need to know a lot about technology. They got to be open to it and then have their creativity really enter into that conversation.
Is it something that, that we can, almost like the technology has to get advanced to the point where when we're looking at like the home assistants, it is really easy. I mean, my kids pick them up like that and things like that. So when we're talking about data analytics and what the planner is going to get out of this technology, does it almost have to advance using AI or whatever to the point where it's just really easy and those reports are kind of auto-generated to the point of where they're not having to invest a whole lot of time and effort? It's more just presented there, and then when you want to go in deeper and analyze on things that are coming out of your own head, you're able to do that. But those initial like tippy-toe steps are kind of handled for you.
Hand-holding.
Yeah.
You know, and I haven't seen it yet.
Like
I probably
AI
should have.
hand-holding.
Well, but Excel has an add-in right now that's an AI analysis tool. And I think maybe 1% of 1% of 1% even know that's available. And that's where all of a sudden, if they start using it, and then someone says, this is artificial intelligence, the Connect then applies because they're using something they understand.
So we've got some guests that we kind of knew we were going to have to slot in at some point at the last minute. So I apologize to you guys, but we've got the high sign.
Cool.
We're bringing them in. So we're going to bring in. Thank you so much. And you're welcome to hang around. And we've got some more time. We can probably rotate back in. But thank you again so much, Jim, Michelle, Elizabeth. But we're going to bring in some new guests.
Some amazing.
We just got the high side.
Amazing new guests. And I'm back.
Bill's back.
I'm back for just a little bit while we switch some people over.
All right, guys.
Do you want to hear, or do you want to switch out for Brant?
Yeah, sure.
Give Brant a break for a minute. We do this all live, guys. We're making this all up.
Here you go. All right.
Hey, Chris.
What's up? How's it going?
Pleasure to meet you.
Man, I brought straight
hello.
from London. Douglas.
Straight off the plane.
Yeah, straight off the
Literally
plane.
straight off the plane. That was me
Literally
45 minutes ago.
Literally straight off the plane.
Douglas Imsley, who is the president or the CEO of Tarsus Worldwide. So it's
Ooh.
runs the Dubai Air Show, Labels Expo around the world. So anything worldwide, Doug is going to know it.
I love it.
Yeah.
What's the capital of Djibouti?
You know where
That was-
Djibouti is.
Haven't a clue.
He said he just got off a plane, Will.
even with jet lag,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm asking all the hard questions.
Oh, man.
So you are on EventIcons, which is a show that is done weekly.
Right.
So we do it live on Facebook right
Okay.
now, live on Zoom. So we've got some people watching us.
Yes.
This is the brainchild of Will with Hello Endless. And we are so excited for it to be for our first time live from Connect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super exciting. So I
Super
think most of us, so Brant and Alex and myself and who are the regular hosts, have spoken many times at Connect. So I think this is my 5th or 6th. So
Wow.
yeah, so it's great. So we love being here. We think it's a fantastic show. And so we're really here today just to talk about with you guys, like tell us what's going on in the world of trade shows and
All right,
conferences.
let me go first.
You go and connect.
See, because here's what's going to happen, Doug. If you go first, you'll steal all my good lines, right? So let me just, from what I see, my perspective. I
Tell
want
us
to talk
who
about
you
trade
are
shows.
first.
Oh my goodness, sorry. So my name's Chris Collinson.
Hi, Chris.
I run Connect out of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I got a great wife and a 10-year-old daughter and 12-year-old son. And I'm also a Boy Scout leader. So there you go. That is me
That is
in
really
many
cute.
different
Yes.
areas.
Well,
Is that right?
the question we ask everyone that comes on the show is like, what got you to where you are today? Like, what got you to start Collinson Media and like get to
that's
the
an
like,
easy one. That's so easy. Are you
what
ready?
got you to this point? Go for it.
All right. And
No,
then I
but
really
it's
want to tell
gonna
you.
go
All right. You're,
So I thought they got an hour.
So we really wanted to start a magazine in 2006, and everyone we talked to said, "Well, you really should do a trade show." He said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do a trade show." Yeah, how hard could that be? It was pretty hard. So, but that wanting to start that publication led to starting a trade show, which led to continuing to serve our clients using face-to-face, one-on-one appointments. And we always just kept the focus of how can we help make sure that our clients are being successful, right? We always said, if a hotel or a city is booking business, they're typically going to give us more opportunities and trust us more, right? And it's worked out that way. So from that one event in 2007 when it first happened to today, I think we're doing 31 different events, mainly in the tourism space. So, but it's been so much fun. December of 2016, we were very lucky to be able to partner with Tarsus. It's a worldwide leader and global event producer. Tarsus is the producer of the Dubai Air Show, the guest series of education trade shows that happen around the world, Labels Expo, many others. You know, 130 different events?
150.
All right, so you do 150 events a year. What made you come to this one?
Come to this one. Well, we had heard about what Chris was doing in this space. We'd been monitoring it, and then I was lucky enough to meet Chris at one of our industry events, CISO, which was in where was it?
California at that time, right?
Yeah, in San Diego. Yeah. And we got talking, and actually we kept in touch, and you know, eventually it came together. I mean, what we're really excited about is, you know, in our business, that the 150 is really split in 6 different geographies around the world. 40-odd% of our business is here in the States. It's the biggest market in the world, but it's also the most competitive market. I mean, we like it. We sort of speak the same language. But actually, what's really good about the US is that it's big. You know, the market's dynamic, and that's exciting. I mean, our second biggest market is China. We've got 25% of our business in China. So although we're a UK company, we've got no business in the UK at all. So I spend my time traveling. So, you know, going into the travel space, the meeting space, you know, is very natural.
It's a very fantastic space, I have to say.
Yeah.
So yes.
Well, so we work in hospitality, so that means pretty much everyone is hospitable. So, you know, it makes it fun.
Although I think you are super friendly. I go to a lot of shows.
You are very friendly, Chris.
And you are very friendly. But what that does is that trickles down through the whole show. I mean, your meetings team is fantastic.
I don't feel like I'm working. You know what I mean?
That's the best.
That's
right?
the best part.
I really, really enjoy what I do. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw this, but as soon as I saw Doug, I haven't seen you in a couple months, Doug?
Yeah.
Came over and smacked him on the behind, gave him a hug. You know,
it's very football.
Now for
He's trying to wake me up.
No, but it's tough because Doug's Scottish and he doesn't. You know, that's not in their DNA. But still, it's fun because I really appreciate seeing him. I appreciate seeing all of clients and friends and people that I've now had the chance to work with and know for the past 10 years.
Awesome.
So I kind of think this is like a homecoming every time we're at Connect.
Yes, and especially since you brought all the shows together, so everyone's really under one roof.
Yes, that's
and
great.
What led you to that decision?
You know what? Somewhat dumb luck. I'll be honest with you, but when we just said, I think we could save money on our audiovisual. I think we could save money on our decorator if we just had it all at once, and we did. And what we didn't realize was that it was kind of 1 + 1 = 3. And I think that's something that maybe all of your viewers could take away, is that I think the larger you can grow an event, the more dynamic that event can become. And I think the more important that event can become for the industry. So,
well, I think it's interesting too, because while there's definitely the, you know, association, corporate, sport, there's also so many similarities between the disciplines.
Exactly.
So especially when you start to look at experience and design and all of those technology.
And it's amazing that you bring that up, because one of the things, again, we didn't know was that we originally had education set up by vertical. And what we really found out was that a lot of if you were a sports producer, you know, you knew what they were doing, but you really wanted to learn, what is the corporations? What are they bringing to the table? How is an association? How are they dealing with changing demographics in America? And what are they doing? Because a lot of those same problems that they face, I mean, they're kind of universal.
They
right?
are.
And it's good to have that outsider's perspective that you might be able to apply to your business.
100%.
I mean, I think what's really interesting and what Chris has done is actually very unique. I mean, we've looked at a lot of different sort of one-on-one meeting type businesses. We looked at 40-odd different businesses before, you know, Chris's. And actually, the big problem with them is they tend to be quite small. I mean, they get, you know, 200-300, and that's about it. And actually, what you really want for an event is scale. You know, with the skill, you can do different things, you get different experiences, and sometimes, you know, intimate is good, but sometimes you want variety. You want to go and actually meet people you don't know. You want to see people that are got products you've never seen before, et cetera, et cetera. And that's really what a trade show is all about. You know, it's a discovery and finding out about things, and you can't always get that if it's too small.
No, I think it's really that balance. So it's between, you know, how do you, you know, in a show of this size, how do you find your people? But then also it's those intersections and collisions that you learn from. You know, if we're just going to a show where it's the same people in the same mindsets, then we don't have that opportunity to sort of expand and to be inspired by how other people are thinking and approaching things. And there's, you know, when we look at something like a sports fan experience, and if you can apply that methodology to a corporate event, you know, your opportunities become exponential. So I think that it's really smart to be able to bring them together and to allow for those collisions.
Well, most of the things that are really good in our business happen to be a little bit of, actually have a heavy dose of luck. So we're very happy. But, you know, when we've tried things that haven't worked, so things that you don't see today that we tried and failed. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready to go there. I don't know.
I mean, the people learn, like, right?
I had something that we tried to, we tried it 4 years in a row trying to make it right. And every single time it failed. And I finally, this whole staff said, Chris, you got to let it go. It was this thing called Connecting Point, where we would have people set up in different areas. So outside of the appointments, where you could, if you didn't have an appointment with somebody, that you could go and find them. Universally, it was hated.
Kind of like a location to meet up.
Yes, and it was like dedicated meetup time.
Oh, wow.
The only person that wanted it was me.
There you go.
Wait, why?
And it only took me 4 years to figure it out.
So I learned something about, there's something called the failure pedestal. So this is what you do: is you take that failure, you put it on a pedestal, you spend about a day really giving it your all. You know, you bow down to it. You make it the most important thing, and then you can just let it go, take it off its pedestal, and move on.
100%. I do, just for the staff's benefit, I really do try to bring it up every couple of years. I say, well, what if we did this Connecting Point idea? And typically I get stuff thrown at me, but it's worthwhile.
Until, like, eventually, like, someone's not going to remember it, then you'll get to revive it again.
It's a great idea.
So now we have behind you one of your speakers, Will. So Aaron. So maybe let's invite Aaron in, because we'd love to hear Aaron's perspective on the show.
Am I kicked out?
No, you can stay.
What's up, Aaron?
Hey, how's it going?
Having a great day.
So Aaron, tell us who you are.
My name is Aaron Wallach. I'm CEO of EventCard. It's a professional development consulting firm based in Michigan, but we do work all across the country.
And so Aaron, I know that you love this show and have been here before.
Absolutely.
So tell us what you love about it.
No, I love seeing so many different people come together in one space. I mean, I think that's really the sweet spot of the show, seeing so many different planners and professionals come in one place to share their ideas and experiences, and sort of cross-pollinate and populate things that they've tried and experienced in one place. I mean, I think that's really the awesome part of the show. I think oftentimes at conferences, meetings, and events, you see a lot of the same, right? So a lot of people doing sort of the same thing, and I really appreciate the opportunity to experience that cross-pollination.
So Aaron, we have not only Chris Collinson, of course, who started Connect, but we also have
Douglas Emsley.
And so
Douglas Emsley.
You like saying it.
Yes, sounds very good. It's Douglas Emsley from Scotland.
Thank you.
So
I will tell you, Doug, he won't tell you this because he's very modest, but he is an expert on pretty much anything China related. So if you have any questions about doing events in China.
I have a ton of questions. Tell us about doing events in China. Tell us about what are some of the key differences between doing events here and in China, because that is super interesting.
Well, I think a lot of it's to do with sort of maturity, and China is still very much a transactional environment. So people are going to shows to buy stuff. So, you know, here it's about the experience, it's about the branding, it's seeing what's coming, you know, it's directional. Whereas in China, you know, they're there to sell product, they're to buy products. So if you're trying to sell the Chinese a non sort of booth type solution, you know, sponsorship, different experiences, they just don't get it, because that's not where they are in their development. But what's fascinating about China is how quickly it's developing. I mean, it's growing massively. I mean, just to sort of give you a feel, I mean, when I went to Shanghai for the first time 15 years ago, there was about 500,000 net square feet of space within Shanghai. Today, it's over 8 million square feet. So, I mean, it's growing and growing and growing and growing, and will continue to grow.
And isn't that also the same country where they were able to build a convention center in 32 days or something?
Yeah, well, they're maybe not quite as quick as that, but
Yeah.
at the moment, they're building the biggest convention center in the world in Shenzhen in the south of China, which is just across the border from Hong Kong, and that will be 5 million square feet, and that will come on stream in just over a year's time. So it's amazing. I mean, it's from one end of the hall to the other end of the hall. I was there 2 months ago. It's 2 miles long.
Can you imagine designing a show, Aaron, in a space that is 2 miles long?
No, that's quite the move in and move out, right?
Yeah. So tomorrow morning, Aaron and I are actually doing a session on design thinking along with Austin, who hasn't arrived yet. So it's that's a whole new level of design thinking, really.
Well, yeah, and I think that the whole design thinking approach really helps us think from the perspective of our attendees. So actually journey mapping through the eyes and within the feet of the attendees. And I think that oftentimes as planners, we don't always think about that. We sometimes think about, what's easiest to move in, or what's easiest to set up, or, what does it look like in terms of how to partner or coordinate with the venue. But really putting ourselves in the shoes of our attendees, as you've said, helps us think about the perspective of that experience from our attendees' eyes. And I think here in the US, that's a really important, not only buzzword, but feature that attendees and learners are looking for in the conferences they choose to participate in.
Is that what you guys are seeing too?
Well, I think it's really interesting, and just in terms of the trade shows or the meeting space. And that if you look at the parallels with what's going on in retail, and I was at a conference where someone said, retail is not dead; it's just boring, and I think that's really a challenge for this industry. Yes. That actually we've got to think differently and actually make it more exciting, because it's an experience for people. If it's the same old, booths, as you were just saying, you're seeing the same things, actually you're not going to come.
Well, I think we need to sort of pollinate our conferences, meetings, and events with ideas outside of the education and event space, right? So a lot of what Tahir and I will be talking about tomorrow will be pulling and drawing inspiration from other avenues, other venues, thinking about retail, thinking about other, over-the-top experiences that people can have. I mean, think about just the food explosion that's happening right now, and what does it mean to go to a really nice restaurant, have a really fantastic meal from start to finish, and what is it about that meal or experience that excites you and wants you to be involved and engaged in that meal or the restaurant, and keep you coming back. And I think some of those ideas from outside of the meeting and event space is what we need to have in order to pollinate, populate, and elevate these experiences moving forward.
I'll tell you the biggest, when you're talking about event design, think about CES in Las Vegas, and think about, there's all these great things that are happening at CES. The thing that that is kind of blows my mind is that there's people that make a living curating your experience at CES, right? So that the show has gotten to be so big and so important that you can pay someone to help you get the most out of your attendance at CES.
Yes.
Right? And so it's almost like what you're saying is, just as they're doing that for a large show, we all need to be thinking about that from any event that we produce.
Well, and what does that look like? So it doesn't have to, every element or every aspect doesn't have to be over the top, but what are the places we can have a meaningful impact? One of the activities that I encourage event planners often to do is to walk through a journey of their attendees' experience from start to finish, identify where those sort of emotional low points happen, and then really focus in on those places. Maybe they don't have the time, energy, or resources to push on every element or every aspect or every touch point, but in particular those low points. And so if registration really is a low point for your conference because people are standing in long lines, it's not fun, it's boring, why not be inspired by something like you?
Why not introduce a regiception? Yes, exactly.
Where you have like a DJ jamming, and you have the entertainment and the food and the connection and the networking happen at a place and time which is generally not that fun and exciting, is relegated to some pre-function space that's dark and dingy and dreary, and everyone's lined up in queues, right? And so how do you identify those low points in the conference and then turn them on their head? And I think sometimes our planners are stuck in a rut because they don't know where to get inspiration from. Drawing inspiration from some of these other places, not just meetings and events, but from around your everyday experience is helpful in order to make that shift.
Well, it's like, when you were just saying about retail. So one of the things, if you go to, let's call it a nicer store, when you get your bag, they don't just hand it to you. They walk around the counter to give it to you. And, I had a real fight on my hands with our registration staff for an event that I've been working on to get people to, instead of being behind the registration counter, why don't we have somebody on the front of the registration counter so that as Aaron walks up, it's like, oh, can Aaron have his badge? And you actually have that human-to-human contact versus that big counter space in between you that makes the registration feel just a little less friendly.
Yeah,
And that, because that is your first sort of that touch point. And of course the reception, for those who aren't familiar with the experience, you can get Bloody Marys, you can get some snacks. Quite often people like you will have just traveled in and the food is healthy. You've got people to talk to, you've got some places to sit, you can do a little bit of work, you can log into the Wi-Fi, thank you Puerto Rico. So there's lots of opportunities to do things that aren't expensive, but really elevate the experience.
And as you guys are talking about low points, I think it's just think about, if you have whatever the best part of your conference is, if you make that a little bit better, but don't focus on the low points, what's really your return? But if you can take that low point and elevate that up, I think that's by far the biggest bang for your buck.
Yeah, and I think that it's not hard. I think, like Tahira said, the places that aren't successful right now, you get that sense and feeling. It's like, as a planner or as a staff person at that event, like the part that you cringe, it's like, oh man, we're letting this session out. We know what it's going to look like. Or I had a client recently say, lining up at the end of the night for valet is really a low point. I said, what would it look like to roll out the red carpet, have a little entertainment on the way out, have, a cocktail for the
one for the road driving,
or, what does it look like to make it an experience as opposed to just making it
I think it was even like a fundraiser. So you leave the end of the fundraiser and you've probably driven to it. There's probably not valet for many of those events. And what if you actually had a safe walk program?
Yep.
As people left to walk you back, so that you had almost like a little mini parade back to the parking lot, but where it's all of a sudden now you're not worried about that kind of end of the night feeling. So simple things, right? So
absolutely.
Now, so you have 150 shows. So tell us one of your favorite things that you have seen that's
which one's your favorite, Doug?
Not favorite show, but
I love all of my children equally.
Exactly. But what are some success factors?
Unacceptable.
What are some of the things people are putting into place that are successful, like the reception,
Well, I think what's really interesting, I'll just go back to China, and we look at the advancement in terms of, technology, marketing, registration, and actually in terms of social media, China leads the way in events in the world, which is not what you would think.
They've have really their own secret social media.
Yeah, with WeChat,
Yes.
WeChat has really revolutionized the fact that actually everybody uses WeChat. They collect all the information, so doing registration is very easy because on the phone you collect all their data in one go because it's already stored there. Then you get a QR code, so you just turn up with your code, you scan it, and you're straight in. So we had a show 2 months ago when I was there. Literally, as we opened, there was a queue of about 10,000 people. And I said, this is going to take an hour for them to get in. Literally, it took 8 minutes to clear 10,000 people. It was just that
it's like
quick.
a dream come true.
Well, exactly, because actually it's coming back. I've just come in and I've just spent over an hour standing in immigration trying to get into your country. And it's not a great start, is it?
Hey, be careful as a foreigner. I don't know, Doug. You might...
No, I've just sent an email to your president.
So it's like, have you seen what the Dubai airport, what the Dubai airport is doing, right? So they're getting to the point where you won't have to go through security because you're going to go through an 80-foot long tunnel that looks like an aquarium.
Yeah.
It's all projection mapped. And what happens when you walk through? You walk through like this. Well, what happens is you walk through like this is they're scanning your face. They know exactly who's in their airport.
Well, it's a fascinating point because on the Dubai Air Show, we partner with Dubai Airports. And I'm working with Paul Griffiths, who's the CEO of the airport. And he's tasked with, in the next 5 years, that they've got about 90 million passengers going through that airport, busiest in the world, and they're looking to double that. And he said, well, the only way they can do that is to double the infrastructure, which is incredibly expensive, or to get people through in half the time, which is all about technology. And that's one of the technology solutions. So on the back of that, we have actually launched a show called Airport Solutions, which is all to do with all the new technologies in airports, actually to get people to move through quicker.
Well, because I know in YVR, so I've been working on a technology summit for 3 years. So in YVR Vancouver, they actually have an innovation lab that sits right in the airport, and they are the ones who they're testing new kiosks. They're sending things out. They're sending them to other airports in the world to test different systems and how they happen. And it's it's amazing the rapidness of that change and how it's evolving. So, and can we put those into our shows?
Well, it's actually relatively easy because actually, we've got very strict security getting into our show because everybody has to be pre-approved by the police. So you're submitting your passport details, and at the end of the day, we've got 80,000 people. But at the end of the day, in speaking to them, they say they're actually only looking for about 5 people that actually, might pop up. So it's actually technology can actually speed up that process, saying, actually, these are the risk areas, these are the risk people, and everybody else is fine.
It makes me just think about waste at our conferences in general, and one of the biggest waste being waiting. And how often do our attendees, are they waiting in line? Are they waiting for food? Are they waiting for a session to let in or let out? They're waiting for, the keynote or the entertainment. Our attendees spend a lot of time waiting, and being mindful of, I think, how to cut down on the waiting time, but also how to make the time that they do have to wait more entertaining, more engaging.
And more opportunities to connect with people.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think we can learn a lot from Disney and the other amusement parks as they've adjusted their queues.
Absolutely.
And I really look at that as the more that we can remove obstacles for people, because I think the biggest thing that people fight on attending a trade show is their time, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'm pulled in a lot of different directions, and I'm pulled, even coming to this event, I have to change my schedule around. I'm missing things back home. By the way, I'm happy to be here. But but I know that that's me, right? And Doug, I know that you're pulled in a lot of different directions. So we have to realize that everyone is the star of their own play, and everyone is really looking at their time as extremely valuable. So it's infuriating to wait, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't need to be, and that's the thing. I actually have several friends I've seen in the last few weeks who became friends when we met in a lineup. At a bar, at a buffet, at a, I was out for dinner with friends in Denver, and they're like, how did you meet? It's like, we met in a lineup talking like this, which is ridiculous. But, 10 years later, true story. And also now a very, very good friend. And
yeah, that's great.
So I think for me, that also just brings up a point around sort of the necessary structure around networking. I think that, it's simple to call something like a networking lunch or reception or meal function or whatever it is. But just calling something a networking break doesn't make it so.
Oh, I agree.
Lots of people need sort of that structure of interaction in order to find meaning in that break period or that mealtime period. And so intentionally identifying what that is and infusing that in not a silly way, but in a way that's really engaging and purposeful.
I have something to say about this. All right, first off, let me start by kids these days, right? Kids these days are not taught about how to have a conversation with folks, are they?
No.
Right? Like I are working with my kids. All right, put down the phone, right? You don't have to text me. I'm right here. You know what I mean? But I think that's really, really important, is that it's this type of face-to-face communication is almost a lost art, right? So we have to help people engage and practice that at our events. Are we getting buzzed out?
Not you.
No.
Tag team, is it me?
But I'm gonna. You know what? Thank you so much, Chris. Aaron, you guys can stay. We're gonna swap out. I'm gonna do a little introduction for you. And Angie and Alex are gonna come in.
I'm good. I love it.
You're
Angie.
Stuck now.
Angie's the reason why our event is the way it is. So we're very thankful to have her here.
Hi, Aaron. How are
you? It's amazing to see
you.
you.
It's good to see you, my friend.
I feel like we communicate like all year long, like email and text and all of that, but never in person.
Meetings aren't dead when you get to see each other face to face, right? Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. It's
So, Angie.
Yes.
This is your first time on the show, right?
You're sweet. No, 6 years, just celebrated my anniversary.
No, on EventIcons.
Oh, on EventIcons. I was so confused. Yes. Yes, I'm a first timer. My bad. Yes, entirely. Yes.
So why don't you tell our guests what you do, what you've been doing for 6 years?
You're insane. You know
And is there a reason you're here today, Angie? I mean,
yeah, right. I'm just here to watch all of you have fun. Senior Director of Meetings and Events for Connect. I have been with the company since we were Collinson at one point 6 years ago. Started when we had 3 events, and now we're up to 32-ish.
A lot.
So lots of growth have been part of the really exciting opportunity, but manage a team of 2 superstars, and we put on the logistics of the event. So you know how it is.
So 3 of you managed 32 events.
Yeah.
I know we decided to give her the third person, so you're welcome.
So for all the planners out there that manage one event with a team of 3 people, I'm sure their jaws are dropping.
It's funny because I came from the world where it was one event a year in my former life.
Did y'all plan this ahead of time? Did y'all say?
no, that was like,
I mean,
keep Chris on the panel.
Yeah, it was fun. You know, our newest team member, our coordinator Tinsley, is in her 2nd month. So she's doing a really great job. She's managing all the education upstairs right now. And then Nicole, who's been with us for 3 years, is our manager, and she is really grown in the past couple of years. But yeah, the 3 of us are in sync, which makes it a really easy transition to do the unthinkable. But the big thing about it is we have a team of 50 staff members, and we say we're a team of 3, but we're a team of 50. That's how it is.
And this is my 3rd Connect.
Great.
And I've also, Marketplace. I've also done some of the regional events. And I tell everyone I see, I'm like, Connect really takes care of their speakers and their attendees and the experience really well. And I think that is a credit to that team and how in sync you all are, and that you take certain things into consideration that a lot of other events don't.
Like what? Tell me, what do we take?
Oh, now you're on the spot.
And the tables are turned.
So from an experience design perspective, I attend a lot of events. I'm a speaker, but I also, work on the social media side for events. And from a speaker perspective, a lot of times we're kind of forgotten. We show up at our session, and then we disappear. For Connect, that is not how it is at all. I feel like you guys treat us really well. The communication level is solid. We got a Google Drive with all of our schedules and everything, which was amazing.
Yeah.
For me, who's got 4 sessions and 2 other mentorship style things, I think I've got 8 things that I have to be somewhere. I'm like, oh, here's my schedule.
When it's funny you say that, because the Google Drive, which was new for speakers this year, we created one for our staff too, which seems like kind of a no-brainer, but we didn't have the time for it. So we really wanted to invest in the communication, which was, as Chris can attest to, communication was kind of our motto this year, was our theme of this year, like really opening it up. And, Chris challenged me at the beginning of the year to really communicate with some partners on our staff. And we took that to the next level with all of staff, all of speakers, all of our attendees. We ramped up our communication with this show too, and our planners and our suppliers. Obviously, technology sometimes is a fun factor with that. We all know how that works, but it's been a really big focus for the events operations team.
But and it's a little thing, but it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Especially, some speakers only speak at one conference a year, but other speakers speak at many, and like sometimes we forget where we're going next. So to get those reminders and those constant emails from you guys is really helpful, and being like, don't forget this, because we do forget a lot. But and you can tell when you speak to the attendees and the suppliers that this is not just a speaker level thing. This is an every stakeholder, every attendee experience that you take into account, which I think is really nice. And it is those little things. But yeah, so over the course of 6 years, what would you say is, the big thing that you've learned and evolved and challenged yourself to do better?
What did you say, Chris?
I didn't get asked that question, but I will tell you, for Angie, she's very, very capable, right? She's really, really good at a lot of different aspects. And I think the biggest thing that I've tried to do is help her to see all the different areas that she's really good at, right? And then on the flip side is to say, all right, now let's look at if there's an area where you're not going to be as successful, how do we help bring in somebody else to complement your skills? For example, I think Angie and Nicole, two totally different, Nicole's manager, two totally different personalities, totally different ways of approaching the problem, but together, gosh, they're a formidable force.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's probably what I've seen over the 6 years.
Great.
So,
And I think just in terms of meetings and events in general, having some sort of good balance between the meeting experience and the actual learning experience. So having that balance between logistics and learning is an important one. And I think that Connect really gets that right. One of the things that I would say is that, I think Angie is really great at helping create a co-creation experience on some of the content, right? So I think that there's been times where I've said, hey, I think this is cool, let's do it, and you say yes. And I think there are other times where you say like, hey, I'd love to connect you with some other people and let's build this something new thing together. And I've met new people as a result of that experience, like really cool event folks that have not only, I think, created a really awesome experience for the attendees in a way that probably wouldn't have been formed otherwise, because you kind of are seeing the big picture and are identifying where people are playing in similar complementary spaces, but also creating these like long-lasting, lifelong friendships and relationships with people who otherwise may not have otherwise been connected, So I think that's really a cool strength, not only of you, but of this show in general.
Thank you for that. I think it's really a good push to put our attendees into that experience too. And we're doing something for another show in the future where we're crowdsourcing the full-on content because we need to know what the attendees want, and sometimes it's too late. And so you're trying to individualize that experience prior with the speakers on hand and have them go and coordinate with a new person. It's very intentional personality-wise because you have to balance it, but at the same time, it's a whole new experience for them. And you're right, you get friendships out of it. And all of y'all, like speaker-wise, are some of my best friends.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun to grow with you and learn that experience and really capitalize on the education and not necessarily have to write the education anymore, which is great for me. But you guys are also, you're the pros. Like, I shouldn't be writing it anymore. I just need to give you the resources to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that's great to know.
And I think that's one of the great things that Angie's been able to do is to find great partners that can come in and that she can trust to know that if I put this person in charge of this classroom, they're going to do a great job and they're not going to let me down. And I think that's another maybe secret to her success.
Well, I think that's the secret to success for events in general. I think that, gone should be the days of this sort of call for presentations where whatever we get is what we accept. And that's not enough. Like, that is maybe an entry level, but that's not enough to creating a really solid educational event. And so I think that's, what you're trying to do is create a good balance between sessions that are on the forefront that people are submitting, but also pushing it further by identifying where maybe the holes are or where people can team up to create new content that maybe they haven't thought of before. I think that really, for planners who are focused on education, it really is important to think about the mix of education you're sort of placing into your programs, because if you're only accepting things that people are submitting, it's not pushing the edge at all. It's really just recycling a lot of content that's been heard and said before.
And I think unfortunately you hit a point where, we do a call for presentations, we do it twice a year now, and sometimes you get 5,000 leadership only contents, which is not like what we're looking for.
Right.
And shame on me, maybe I misworded the document, but you're processing and reading those, and you hit a point where you're filling these gaps, but you're not getting exactly what you're looking for. And so you have to go out and kind of recreate the wheel. So that process, I agree, has to be done differently. I don't know the how quite yet. I'm working on it. If anyone has a secret, let me know.
What's great is I can just imagine that someone who submitted a leadership proposal is watching right now. You know what I mean? And they're going, oh, maybe that's what I did.
Yeah, you get
Angie's talking to you.
Yes, she doesn't want any leadership. So we've got it.
Leadership is good. Trust me, it's good. But a lot of people talk about leadership. And I think for a while we had a lot of social media too, right?
Yeah.
It was a hot topic. So
Social media is important.
it is important.
Yeah, okay.
But I think once there's a hot topic, everyone's the expert, and that's all you get. And you're like, hey, I actually need something on the next topic, the next hot topic, and it's always trying to be ahead of the game and circle, and that's when you bring people in the great minds.
Well, this is where like looking at things like the certified meeting professional curriculum is helpful to identify good content in a variety of different topic areas. And certainly there are other content outlines to consider, but I think that's certainly one place to start. So you know you're getting a good mix of content across a variety of topic areas.
Yeah, and we're very intentional working with the EIC to make sure we're hitting all those different dockets. I mean, I'm a CMP, I want to be a CMM, I'm going to be working towards that as well, but you need to get those right business plan actions in place to make it happen. So.
And I think what's interesting, and I'm glad you brought up the social media side, because I am a social media speaker. And for me, when I started speaking, and really Connect was one of the first meetings that I brought these new sessions to 3 years ago, was I had attended lots of events and there were a lot of social media 101s. And I was like, I don't need to be teaching you something that you can Google yourself. Social media is a tool. How can we implement social media into other forums, such as the sessions I'm doing here, which are on sponsorship? Like, how can we make money off of our social media?
Hashtag money session is like amazing. People love it.
So hashtag money was one of them. But it is important because that is something that people aren't using social media for. Right. They're not making money off their social media. And then my newest session, which is on crisis communications, which is really important, that people weren't considering. So like social media is the tool and not what I'm trying to teach you how to use. I'm trying to teach you how to use it for different things. So it's really not a social media session. It's a crisis communications session, and it's a sponsorship session.
You get that from different credits too with the EIC. It's not about, because you can't credit the social media, but you can credit the crisis communication plan.
Right.
So diving into those little areas makes sense when you have to do it that way.
So I wanted to ask you, with 32 events, somehow you also find time to go to events yourself.
Yeah.
Where do you get your inspiration from, and where do you find, new topics and things that you want to bring to Connect?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you really need to think outside the industry from an attendee perspective to, attending events that are non-related to the hospitality industry make perfect sense to watch the flow of attendees and what they're experiencing and putting yourself in the attendee footprint. I obviously go to other industry shows. I think they have great content because many of the speakers are at those that I work with too, and they have new speakers that we can look into. But really, it's a lot of research, a lot of reading of everyday life. So incorporating that into the common field of just being around people. I mean, that's what our meetings do. We're about connecting people. It's what our company is all about, business, bringing those connections together. So even traveling to different destinations is really important. We have so many partners here that are really strong in their marketing, are really strong in their products, and getting ideas on what they need and putting that into place. Like, how can they help market better to the planners? Right. And then what are the planners looking for their events? It's funny, I had a walkthrough with the GM this morning of the building, and we talked about what he needed to add to his inventory. And I was like, hey, I was really bummed you didn't have this. He's like, oh, do you think I need that? I'm like, yeah, you need that. So just kind of walking that different footprint and being as much of a resource to them as they are for us is continues to evaluate our events in a whole different way.
That's really great.
Yeah.
So where do you see Connect going from here? Like, what's the future of Connect?
Chris.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know. That's such a tough question.
What's your 5-year plan?
I think I know it. I just don't know if Angie wants to know how many events she's going to have to do.
It's so fun.
What we're trying to accomplish is we just want to have an event happening every day of the year.
Okay.
So we're looking for
except Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Well, no. We'll just do like overseas events over Christmas. So
my excitement is overwhelming.
Contain it.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be great. One of the biggest things that we can do is we have a lot of events. Some of them are small, some are big. I think we need to focus on once a quarter having a larger event, right? In February, we have 3 events coming together. We have a marketing event, an international travel, and a business travel event all happening at one time in Orlando. In May, we have 5 or 6 groups that are all coming together in Hawaii. obviously this event in August, and then in December, we're pulling 2 events together in Washington, D.C.
Right.
So as I look ahead in 5 years, I would love it if each of those events develops its own personality and its own importance to the particular market that it serves, so that it could have the opportunity to grow and take over an entire Gaylord Palms, for example. Because I think when that happens, what you get is everywhere you are, you're seeing people, whether it's in the elevator or at the restaurants, that are all there for the same reason. And I think it's just as important it's great what happens in the convention center, but it's really just as important what happens when you're getting breakfast or, going by the shops or anything because you're all there for the same purpose.
Right.
So I think that would be a real great thing. And I think we could look back and say, wow, that we did some good stuff. So.
Now, and I guess here's another question. As the groups have come together, and we've talked about the association tracks and the corporate tracks and things like that, and how they can learn from each other, with new types of events popping up. And one of the unique things about Connect is that you really do reach into every single type of planner and every single type of event. When you talk about events, for example, like the up-and-coming esports, sector, how can you create events where they're learning from people who, like the association people and the core people who've been doing this forever? How can they learn from each other?
I'm going to give you a little different perspective on esports. Esports it's unbelievable what's happening. I didn't really believe in it until I saw my son watching someone play video games on YouTube. And I was like, why don't you just play the video game? But apparently he saw that there was value there. So when I saw that, I started to see, wow, all right, this is happening. This is real. He's telling me that people have like 11, 12, 20 million subscribers.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane to me. It's just
like, Dad, I get paid for this?
Yeah.
There's tutors now for some of these games.
Don't even go there. But but what I think that needs to happen is that I think back to history.
Yes.
Right. You can look back at all these different things, like go back to the railroads. When railroads first came into America, everyone wanted to launch railroads. Guess what? Most of them went out of business. Right. And it was just a handful that stayed around. I'll say social media. I mean, look at the dominance of Facebook, Instagram. It's really tough to be Twitter and Snapchat, right? So what I think will end up happening is we're going to go through a huge growth in esports, but there's going to be some clear winners and clear losers in esports. And I think that the industry needs to kind of get to that next iteration, that next level.
Yeah.
We can teach and train, but I don't know. They're just growing so much. I don't know if they have the time right now to listen.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And, we had an episode on esports that was fascinating, and they were talking about how these events sell out in minutes. And their marketing stuff is phenomenal, and they excel in some places, and other places they don't, like engaging the attendees when someone isn't playing a game on stage. Like, what happens in that dead space?
Right.
And that's some stuff that other sectors have already figured out.
And tying with that, the big winner, I think, when you saw the NBA coming out and every single NBA team now having an esports team that goes along with it.
Yeah.
See, when people like that, or ESPN or others that have this great business background, that understand how people consume content, as they get into the arena, if you will, I think they're going to start to bring business processes and marketing and whatnot. So
sorry, as you can imagine, I'm getting text.
I think we're all getting the
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
You're a star, man.
I'm good.
Thank you, Anne. Sorry.
Thank you,
I can tell my
Andrew.
phone was
Andy's got show stuff to do.
Hey, Chris.
All right. So now we have Chris with us. Chris, tell us who you are.
Chris Gasparo, president of a little company called Ember, a little boutique meeting agency based north of Boston, Newburyport, Massachusetts.
Well, welcome.
That's
Thank you
the
so
political
much.
line, the
Okay, so
storyline.
tell us who you really are.
Uh,
Chris told us he was a Boy Scout leader and a dad, so Let's amp it up.
I'm an event professional living in a meetings world, so I kind of wrestle with that every day. Dad of twin 10-year-old soccer playing awesome boys, frustrated former captain of boats, and failed guitar tech and roadie, all to my pedigree on LinkedIn.
I feel like that whole
Hidden.
like failed guitar tech and roadie just means you actually got to have a real grown-up job.
It was, I say, like, my master's degree was in 1990 something for 3 years, 230 nights a year on a tour bus touring around North America.
Yes.
I had a
Yes.
group buy with Motel 6. I used to buy something like 8,000 room nights a year.
Oh,
It's so weird how that is so low on my list of priorities.
it's good times though.
That's awesome. And I don't know if you know Alex, our other
No.
host. So Alex, Little Bird
Yes.
Told Media. So Alex is one of our 4 amazing
That's
hosts. And
great.
then Aaron.
hello. Hey.
So Aaron's a little bit like you, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the event side. Have a small consulting firm called EventCard. We have 15 team members.
Woo.
A lot of instructional design, event management, portfolio management. Always trying to push the envelope and create a ruckus.
How is 15 people for you? I'm about the same size.
15. We kind of grew quickly, so we went from like the 7 to 15 like overnight. I feel like, and that was definitely an interesting move. In the event space, so many of my colleagues have like small, like 1 and 2 person shops, and so it's hard to have conversations with folks like that because there's this whole element of like staff and HR that you didn't necessarily expect to get into. It's like one of those things where I feel like I started my career as an association professional. I thought that that's was like my calling, and then I realized that education was really my jam, and so I sort of call myself an education professional. But
Wait,
you know,
are you from Michigan?
I'm from
Do
Michigan.
you know Jody Katie?
I know Jade. I know Jody. Absolutely.
She's one of my best friends.
Well, that's
I
awesome.
know about you. I've heard of. See?
Oh, look at that.
Look
We're
at that. That
making
just happened.
connections live.
That literally
on
just
Event
happened.
Icons.
It's a very small industry.
Holy smokes. Lansing, Michigan.
All
Here
right,
we
well,
come.
there you go. We're done. We can leave now.
And I actually spend a lot of time in Grand Rapids. We have one of our largest clients based out there. So
Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
probably there about 16 to 20 days a year.
Well,
So
I'll have to see you like outside of the show.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, or tonight.
What I can tell you guys for sure is as soon as like 15 is a good spot because when you go 15 to 25,
Yeah.
that's when you need to start to have administrators and actual real HR people.
Yeah.
Every time I
You
grow a
know?
couple more people,
Yeah.
they tell me the next phase
It's that next.
is I was like, everyone's like 10 to 14.
Right.
I feel
Then
like
it's the
15
15 to 20.
I always feel like 15 is nice. Like it's like having not had my own companies, but
Yeah.
worked at companies with that. Like it's nice. Like you've got some support behind you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you also you haven't yet got into that whole extra level of administrative challenge.
Well, and what I would say, what I like right now about the team that's the size that we're at is I feel I grew up in the 80s, so I use the Transformer reference a lot. I feel like we're like Transformers. Like I literally build the robot that I need based upon all of the different skills and attributes of various team members and create a unique sort of solution for folks. And I really love that. I mean, the reason why I started my own consulting firm was I got bored. Like I get bored as soon as we like in maintenance mode, as soon as, I was running the same 65 programs a year for an association. I just was like, this cannot be it. Like this is not, you can become as efficient in those programs as you can.
Yeah.
You've explored all the options, you've talked to all the speakers, like it becomes like boring. And so I was like, well, let me do something crazy. How about starting a consulting firm? And then it was like, well, how about 1 staff, 2 staff, 3 staff? How about 15? And it's just a new every day presents a new
And
opportunity.
all the
for
onboarding
sure.
files are built, the templates of the offer letters, ready to go.
Right, and who knew?
Just waiting for more.
Well, you start in this industry thinking like, oh man, like consulting will allow me to do cool event stuff. And then you're like, yeah, it does until you get staff. And then you're doing cool event stuff and all the staff stuff.
And then you realize an event happened that you didn't even know about.
Absolutely.
That's a fun moment. All right, we've talked to him.
Okay, we're done.
What's your story?
What's my story?
What do you guys need to get rid of one of us?
I'll give the abridged version because I know our viewers have heard this story many times.
Well, we're following Chris. So we know
Yeah,
who's talking about there,
so I have my own company of one called Little Bird Told Media, and I do social media strategy and consulting for events, conferences, and trade shows.
And you were on the cover of MPI's magazine, right?
I was on the
That's
cover
how
of
I know you.
MPI's
This is-
magazine. Yeah,
Show's just
so
bringing people together,
muscle
man.
memory's coming back. Sorry.
so I just got their Rise Award for Young Professional Achievement.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Um,
How's that responsibility?
It's heavy.
And what is the cash prize with that? I am unclear of that.
There is no cash prize,
But your whole company had a party for you.
my whole company had a party. No, it's nice. And as a speaker, it's elevated the speaking that I've done, and I've been getting a lot more gigs from it. It's funny though, because when you're on the cover of a magazine, and people don't realize this, or even as a speaker, when people come to your sessions, they assume that they know you and that you know them.
Right.
But when I speak at 15 events a year, that's not the case. So I get a lot of people wave hi or assume that they know me because they've seen my face. And I'm like, I don't know you, but it is a pleasure to meet you.
That's so cool.
It is
That's
cool.
An
It is
awesome
cool.
first world problem to have.
It's
People
absolutely-
recognize
I think
me.
you have to take like the Chris Rogan, so like Chris Rogan, who speaks all the time. His
Yeah.
methodology is basically, he's like always like, "Hi, I'm Chris," because he's like, "How could I? Why would I possibly expect you to remember my name, let alone me remember theirs? So why don't you start off with like, I am
Absolutely.
Chris?"
Yeah.
And so I really tried to take that on, which was I probably heard him say that around 2010, which was the year I decided that I was just going to meet more people at events. I was going to sit beside new people on the bus, and I was going to actually introduce myself, which is how we met.
Right.
Right? Because I saw Chris speak, and I was like, "That was awesome, dude! Like, I have to know you." So then, that's the whole speaker. Of course, that's what you want when you speak, is
Small
for
little click.
at the
Not
end
many
of it,
people
for
are
people
welcome.
to say, "I want to be your friend," right? That's what you wanted to have.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, and I think it's just important to be mindful of the speakers who I'm one of those speakers who speaks a lot, like everyone else apparently. And I think that for me though, I have this sort of energy bar above my head, and as like the hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours goes on, like my energy bar ticks down. Whereas I know other people, as they speak, their energy bar like ticks up.
That's defining Will Curran, yeah.
And so just being mindful that like I have to specifically plan downtime after long speaking engagements, because by the end of it, like I'm drained. I'm completely like down. So you have to find me before the event. Before the event, I'm like completely jazzed, ready to go. But afterwards, I'm just like completely like drained and ready for a cocktail.
That's why I drink during the speech.
That's
time.
perfect.
So I'm at number 3 when I get to the bar.
That's awesome.
That's a great method. I may need to adopt that. So what are you speaking on, Chris?
So I have a couple sessions. The new one I've just took the final touches on the plane ride in. It's called Cheap and Cheerful, restoration hardware events on IKEA budgets. So kind of an event design.
No offense to IKEA.
No, love it. It's awesome, right?
I think that's their brand.
That's completely frugal design, highly effective for the masses. Swedish influence, so stylish.
Hard to put together.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. That's
Yes.
kind of a little bit what Ember does. I'm taking credit for all those great team members back home. We get pushed in the corner a lot by budgets. One thing I think we all share sometimes, we wish we had bigger money, or the TED conference budget, or TED conference wishes they probably had more, or
Yes, absolutely.
World
Everybody
Economic Forum wishes they had more. Maybe not them or Swift. So we have a lot of expertise, we call it cheap and cheerful is our nickname, so we can kind of say, oh, that was fun. Whether it was $600 design, or go to a rental partner and find something in inventory that's not moving off the shelf and have fun with it. So I'll share some secrets there. And then the other one I'm doing is called Sell the Dream, Service the Nightmare, kind of a sales versus operations, or creative versus operations, kind of talking about why that kind of yin and yang needs to coexist, and divergent objectives are healthy conflict for event success.
Well, and it seems like that cheap and cheerful, just to go back to it for a moment, is an important conversation to have, because I think oftentimes we were talking about event design earlier, and I think that oftentimes people think that they can't provide the stellar experiences to attendees because they don't have the budget. And so instead they don't attack it, or they don't address it, they just let it go. And I think that's probably the wrong approach to take.
Completely. And in today's world, we all know we live in a world of Amazon Prime, Pinterest. Use so many more resources, so many more ideas. Just think about like the hotels you stay in, boutique hotels.
Wait, there goes Lainey.
Hey there. Welcome to Match.com. We are here in Salt Lake.
It just
Shocker.
gets totally interesting. Hello. So exciting.
there's
Look, we're
that.
on it. This is a live show.
This is what happens when we have
Say hello
people
to
walking
Michelle,
by.
to Lainey.
So everyone at home can't see, but there is a hallway here, and people are walking by constantly. And here's one.
They're very friendly, these two. They're very friendly. All right, so we're talking about design before we were so interrupted by the fact that we're at a live show with live people walking by.
That's good. Live events, manage the chaos.
Ladies from Vancouver, it's good. I have to say a lot of my.
Oh,
peeps.
that was like legal, right?
Absolutely.
There.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't have a choice.
No.
Right.
Did not. So I just
go.
I have no idea where we were.
Chris.
So no. So, but I wanted to say. So we know you're. I know you and I are talking. What else are you talking about? 'Cause you have a couple other sessions.
Yeah. So 2 additional programs I'll be talking about. First is Healthy by Association. So it's about a year and a half ago, I launched a community called Healthy by Association, focused on 2 things. First, the busy event and association professional who is always on the run, always on the move, and doesn't necessarily take care of themselves. And thinking about what health and wellness means to them, I think we accept the fact that health and wellness means something different to every person. So it could be eating or moving or whatever it is, but not allowing sort of the busy schedules of being on the road and at events to come in the way of fulfilling whatever that health and wellness
And stop
journey looks
wearing
like.
it as a badge of honor that we're so tired and so busy.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the other sort of side of that coin, though, is really thinking about health and wellness from the event attendee perspective. The thing that really gets me going is putting the only health and wellness thing at 6 a.m. in the morning. Like, although the health and wellness people who are really jazzed about it, like, are up doing that thing, like, what
They don't need to do it with other people. They don't even care. They'll do it anyhow.
Where's the space or opportunity throughout events to move, to eat well, to fuel our brains in an effective way, to build movement and energizing activity into the actual fabric of the event?
Yes. I wrote a whole book about that. It's so great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be talking about sort of both sides of that coin in those 2 health and wellness opportunities called Healthy by Association. The other is really about sponsorship. So really thinking about the future of sponsorships. I think that planners have gotten into this rut of transactional sponsorship approaches that are really starting to frustrate me and are causing the decline of sponsorship opportunities within associations.
And it was interesting, though, that Douglas from SARS was saying that in China, that's actually their norm. It's still very transactional events and trade shows and sponsorships. So it's, when that starts to evolve, we're seeing it heavily here in North America. So that's an awesome topic.
Yeah.
So in the sponsorship topic, just if I could glean some insight here, not to say hypothetically have a client looking for a new sponsorship thing. What's like the new sponsor of the weather? What's the new little thing that's easy ad but has high value opportunity?
So unfortunately, I don't let our clients get off that easy. I don't think that there's like the one size fits all. I think that step one for most organizations is to take a really hard look at the inventory that they have and make clear choices about what is attractive inventory and what's not, and finding new places to add inventory to what they're already offering that their sponsors actually want. I think by and large, the sponsorship inventory that most organizations use is not great. It's like the leftover stuff. It's like the stuff like we swept up in the back corner back here that, is left over. And there's carryover. It's like, how many things can we list that we have access to? It's like, well, your sponsors don't even want like 3/4 of that crap. Like if you gave them 1 or 2 like really high quality, high touch experiences, they would be much more satisfied. And so for me, it's really about taking a close look at inventory. And number 2, like really understanding the needs, goals, and wants of your sponsor. I'm very much into sort of the one-on-one like sponsorship development, understanding your needs and goals and wants and building that for you, not jamming down sort of my prepackaged sponsorship programs or levels or tiers, or can we get rid of like the emerald diamond sponsor like business, like let's be more innovative, more relational than that.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, that's awesome.
Do you guys do a lot of sponsorship? Well, we love
play there. We actually recently had a client brief us about thinking from an experiential point of, we have one client, we do a lot of work in kind of storytelling in the ballroom, and with the power of medium and screens already up is, what's the next opportunity? And from a value add, and just from going from static to dynamic, if you can only imagine an inventory, just so you put the static lines, 90% of sponsorship is probably static.
Yeah.
So occasionally on the fulfillment side, less in kind of the organization of it. We sometimes do some spark plug ideas about it. Yeah.
I think it's important to understand right now. Alex, tell us what you're talking about here.
So I actually have a session on sponsorship.
Competing?
I don't think
Probably
they're competing.
Now, are you sponsored by anybody?
No. EventIcons, hello. Okay.
But I'm going to be talking about sponsorship from the social media side. And one of the things, and Angie had mentioned as she was just sitting here, that this session has become very popular. And probably the biggest takeaway, and the thing that people come up to me afterwards saying that was worth the entire conference coming here, is this worksheet and this Excel spreadsheet to figure out how to value your social media sponsored posts. So how much you can sell a post for and how to package those together. People want to do it. They don't know how to choose a value or decide how much that's worth, and then how to sell that to their sponsors and prove that it's worth that much. And so that part of the session people walk away with, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. Now I can sell this because now I know how much it's worth. But we also talk about really unique things like selfie spots on the floor. So a lot of the social media sponsorships that we try to do actually drive face-to-face interaction. So it happens on social media, or we want to encourage you to post to social media, but there's also a face-to-face element.
I don't need to go to session. This is great.
Wow.
We probably were competing against each other. This is great.
So, but that's one of my sessions. And then I have 2 half-hour sessions, same session, it repeats, on chatbots and customer service, and how that can also partner with social media. And then I have one on crisis communications. So runs the gamut.
What are you doing here? It sounds like you should be speaking right now. Angie didn't fill your spot right now.
The next 2 days, the next 2 days are packed. But no, it's very exciting, and it's, as I mentioned to Angie, it's not just social media 101. It really is, how do you use social media for these other elements that you really need to be thinking about for your events. But yeah, so that's what I'll be talking about.
So guys, question on social media?
Yeah.
I can do this? Sorry. Let's go for
Yes.
it. So if the main players right now in a business perspective is Facebook and Instagram, what's coming up on 3, and more importantly, what's number 4 going to be? What's going to overtake those in the next 3 years?
So are you asking from a holistic point of view or from events specific?
I'm asking holistic. So if I have a specialty running store in Dallas, Texas, okay.
Why not?
Well, when we talk about Facebook and Instagram, we have to recognize that they're both Facebook.
Yep.
Instagram is now owned by Facebook. So really it's just Facebook. But, Twitter still has value for anything that is happening live. So when you think about the Oscars or the Super Bowl or big events or things like that, or other award shows, that's when Twitter really shines. Or even, on these networks where they produce live musicals where people like to live tweet and hate tweet. But so Twitter still has value from a live, this thing happened perspective. Even when you think about things that are happening in the news, a lot of that breaking news, and you can see those conversations happen in real time on Twitter because the feed is chronological. So it has its purpose. So I think Twitter's always going to be a player unless someone else takes over that, element of it. But I don't think they're going to.
Coming back?
MySpace is not coming back.
That's the roadie in you talking. I'm just gonna say.
Just saying, still active.
All right, so
18 followers. Yeah. Am I out?
No, the whole show is going to be out in a few minutes because this has been a 2-hour live episode.
Extended.
That has been full of fun and excitement. It's been really, really cool.
Beers are pouring. You can see near
So
the end.
they are pouring beers. So tell us, Chris, what are the takeaways you're hoping people, when they leave, what do you want them to, what are you hoping that you can help people move forward with?
Well, success for me is a year from now, I am pissed because someone took one of my ideas and did it on their event, and I'm jealous. So that's my ultimate, my KPI right there. I always hope, what's great about these things, even from the time, is just pausing for a moment. And if I just create a thought moment, especially from when I think about when design starts, or even there's just so many things that get in the way. So just that little pause to say, let's not open last year's Word agenda doc to start our meeting, start planning next year, versus let's talk about outcomes, and let's embrace being backed in the corner. Let's embrace the opportunity to inspire 2,000 attendees, and it can cost only $1,600. what's wrong with that? So I think just a little bit of pause moments and some thinking.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you guys thank you so much for coming by. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for hosting, Alex.
You're welcome.
We
Thank
you,
you.
Facebook and Zoom people, for joining us. It's been a super, honestly, like, we don't get to have 2-hour shows very often and hang out and we've talked about everything from sustainability to design to technology to, I know you barely just got to visit us. It's just, I feel bad about that, but you know what, we're going to have you back on the show.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so we're going to do a Zoom with you. So
Absolutely. Or come to Newburyport. We'll host you in Newburyport anytime.
Where's Newburyport?
Exactly.
We love you, Newburyport.
We love you, Newburyport.
Just north of Boston, a little seaside town. Lobster rolls are on me. Come on up. We'll put you up for the night. If you can get there, we'll take care of you.
I will, for lobster rolls.
Yeah, it sounds
100%,
good to me.
Obviously. So yeah, thank you guys very much. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Brant.
Do we want to bring? Yeah.
Oh, good. Here they come. Don't leave, Chris. We have so much still to talk about.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no.
You're good.
Wow, they brought
Don't forget
me
your phone,
beer.
though.
We have
This is
drinks
fantastic.
now.
Audrey, shout out to Audrey, who's not with us today, but is, also fabulous.
Sadly, Audrey is not here.
No.
No.
Cheers, kids.
But
Cheers.
we, cheers to a 2-hour-long episode.
These are the benefits of a
All us
regiception.
Cheers.
Yes.
I'm not
Woo,
reaching.
the benefits of regiception. Start with
It's 2
sugar.
parts good, 1 part yum.
Okay.
That's what you got over
2
there.
parts good.
I don't
1
know
part
what's in this
So-
cup.
It's the mystery.
yum. Brett,
It's a
what was your big
mystery
takeaway
cup.
from today?
This is brownish.
Big takeaway from today, I was mostly running and getting beers, so I know.
Not true.
No, it was really good. I'm always constantly amazed at the
We
amazing
missed
and
Mahogany
wonderful
Jones on
people.
the show.
Yeah.
We're gonna have. We see Mahogany going by. We're gonna have Mahogany on an EventIcons live episode.
Yes. Absolutely. You know what? It continues to be just a mind-blowing to me, the incredibly smart people that are in our industry, and how much fun it is to just sit around on a couch and talk to these incredibly smart people, which is one of the benefits of doing this show. It's really, really a great part of being a part of a show like this. So that's the thing that I continue to take away from these.
Thanks, Will, for reeling us in to do this show with you. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad you guys all got to make it and be here, because that's
I
I think one of the most exciting parts.
4 EventIcons hosts, 4 speakers at Connect. Thank you, Angie. And Tim,
Yes,
for
thank
having
you,
us.
Connect.
Yes, Connect for having us as well. Absolutely amazing show. I think one of the cool things about this format that I've become to realize I love too is just that we're super casual on the when we do it live and everyone's remote and calling in, but this is even more casual. We're like, you just grab someone halfway through a sentence, pull someone else in. Oh, someone walks by, let's put them on. And I think this is like the example of what the feeling I love to get with the show is the casual, let's just hang out and have a beer together. Or an Arnold Palmer, that's what your drink is.
Okay. I was like, I don't
wasn't
taste
gonna tell him what it
alcohol.
What was like your biggest takeaway?
You know what?
Alex?
Neither do I, but that's because it's American beer. Just saying, as a Canadian girl.
So, my biggest takeaway is probably just how passionate people are about topics that they don't even necessarily specialize in. We talked about a lot of things on today's show over the course of 2 hours, and things that, certain people who thought they were coming on the show to discuss ended up not discussing. We talked about a completely different topic, but we're all so passionate about the things going on in the industry, and we're so aware of what's going on even outside of our expertise that we can talk about it and form valuable opinions and share those opinions. I think it's a fascinating kind of industry where we are so hungry for more information and more change and innovation also. I don't think anyone who sat on these couches today is satisfied with the status quo. I think we all want to make events and the industry better.
And I loved actually that we got to be at Connect and hear so much from Connect. It's not always that we can get the show owners on the first day where they get some time to really sit down and talk with us. And that was fantastic. So should we wrap this baby up?
I think we have a lot of news to share. I'm going to jump on Brant's toes
Go
and
for it.
share another piece of
Yes.
news that is developing. It hasn't been fully fleshed out, but the audience has spoken and voted on this. We have a lot of awesome, exciting news to share. So that's the bonus if you stuck around for the full 2 hours of this episode. First piece of news that I want to share is a project that I've been working on since last week, which is what we're dubbed and officially voted on by the Facebook group is EventIcons Extended. So we obviously do our show, and we do these long live shows, but there's all these conversations that happen in person that we wanted to capture, and essentially we are capturing those now on film and now releasing them to you, the audience. And the best part about it is if you are in our Facebook group, and if you're not, you're going to miss out. That's where we're going to be releasing all the content for you to check out. And basically going to be deeper dives. Last week at ILEA Live, Tahir and I knocked out a ton of interviews, and I think we're going to record a ton more interviews here as well.
It's like the bonus content on a Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's like the Easter egg features, right? Yeah, totally, exactly. So if you're wondering how you can get that additional content, go to event-icons.com, sign up, and you're going to get an email invitation to the Facebook group. Join the Facebook group, and that's where we'll be posting all of that amazing content of EventIcons Extended. Really excited for that format of the show. And we've had some amazing people already. Nick Borelli, Aaron Kaufman, just so many amazing people at ILEA Live. So, so that's my exciting news to share. Brant, I hear you have something exciting to share.
I do. So the next bit of it. So last week we were live from ILEA.
Yes.
This week, obviously, we're live from Salt Lake City and Connect Marketplace. We are excited to announce, because of the popularity of these live shows, we've actually entered into a partnership with IMEX America, one of the largest expos, meeting and event expos in the country, and a twin of the one that's in Frankfurt every year. So we're partnering with IMEX America. We're going to be broadcasting live again from IMEX. That's October 17th, Wednesday at our normal time, but we're going to get to do it from the IMEX studio, which is, there's going to be a lot more to come on this as we flesh out the details, but we just wanted to kind of do a little tease that we will be there live in Las Vegas, October 17th at our regular time. So if you're going to be coming to IMEX America, please join us there, and you can see EventIcons live there as well.
Amazing.
So exciting.
So exciting.
Very,
very exciting. All right. So
I hope they have a reception.
I hope they have a reception as well.
There.
So come hang out with us at IMEX. It's gonna be amazing. And this time I think we're gonna have to get Audrey out to that one for sure. So
a little luck.
She's not allowed to stay home.
This is not the first time we've done this live from IMEX. This will be the second time, and actually the first time I was on the show.
That's true.
Was at IMEX 2 years ago.
Very true.
So
you should watch that episode with Alex. It's very interesting. I was just watching it this week. It's so fun, so exciting. I think it's like episode 32. If I get that exact number right, I'm really excited. But I think it's like episode 32, live from IMEX America. Similar to this, except for we did three other people at a time, and every 15 minutes for 2 hours. So it was something like we went through 30 icons in like 2 hours. It was crazy. Yeah. All right, let's take this home. I don't know. We didn't plan a closer.
No.
So so Brant,
so
you know the script by heart. So cheers.
We want to thank everybody for joining us, both live and here in the show floor. We record this every Wednesday normally, special edition this week, Thursday, but usually every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and then the show is released the next following week. I'm trying to remember the script on this. It's released the following week, but the best way for you to join us is event-icons.com. You can sign up there. You can join us live in the Zoom chat. That's the best way to connect with us. Send in your questions and chat with us live during the show with the icons of the event industry. We want to know what you think, so join us, #EventIcons. Let us know who you'd like to see on the show, and we'll hope to see you next time on EventIcons.
All right.
See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of #EventIcons. To catch the transcription and all of the resources mentioned, head to www.helloendless.com/blog. This week's episode will be posted and available by next Tuesday. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway.
And join the social conversation. Sponsored by Little Bird Told Media.
Just tag your post with #EventIcons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on #EventIcons.